Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another build order guide, or, well, basic guide. This time we will be doing UKF, and we will be doing it on the map Red Ball. To start off, we're going to get 2 infantry sections. This will be the core of our army. We're going to utilize them at long range. Infantry sections are the best long range mainline in the game, especially if you stick them behind cover. So you really want to make sure you entrench your positions and utilize cover to its full potential. And because of that, infantry sections have sandbags and trenches, which we will be utilizing a lot later on. Okay, we're going to have this squad move up to the fuel. Now, after your 2 infantry sections, you're going to get a universal carrier into sappers. You may or may not want to get your platoon command post, depending on the timing of the universal carrier and your fuel and stuff. We're gonna hit the fuel. We're gonna try to stick to this green cover here to get the cover bonus. Even if we don't actually get it, it's important to get the buff, because infantry sections get a buff for standing in green cover. Normally, I'd advise, like on fuel and munitions, if it's on a different map where it's more in your territory, I would recommend building sandbags behind the territory point so that you can, you know, have the cover. That'd be a lot better for you. You can see we're shredding these Storm Pioneers because they've decided to stay at range. So like for here, for example, most people don't go for munitions, so we're going to build a sandbag here. Okay, we've covered the fuel, so we're going to now make sure that we're actually behind the cover. Now, we could bring these infantry sections to reinforce that squad on the midfield, but we're not going to because it's only the 1 squad, but normally you would. Okay. We want the green cover, so we're going to use the sight blocker there. Come around onto green cover, which should help our infantry sections out. For universal carrier, we're going to attack platoon command post so we can make it a Wasp. If you're not comfortable with Wasp micro, or the map doesn't really have any garrisons, and it's just very hard to utilize the Wasp, you can build a Vickers instead.
Work to construct a new platoon command post is finished.
Okay. We're going to bring over this infantry section, since the 1 squad is suffering. Building our sandbags here. Okay, we're being shot at, so you want to stop the sandbags. While you're building sandbags or repairing, your squads take bonus damage, so it's very important to stop building sandbags if you're getting shot at.
Looking a bit squiffy. Line's been cut.
Keeping your universal carrier close to infantry squads is usually not advisable unless they don't have snares. So most engineer units, except for Royal Engineers, don't have snares. So you know, you can push close to them. Our UC is taking a lot of fire, so we're going to reverse it. We're going to get our Royal Engineer. And then, while we wait for repairs, we're going to upgrade it to a Wasp. So you got to bring it back to its territory. More squads building... Oh, I canceled the sandbags. More squads building a sandbag will build it faster. Another important thing to do is, with your engineer unit, you want to keep it near your universal carrier as much as possible, so that way you can repair it and keep it in the action constantly. And also, Royal Engineers have the heat grenade, which is the snare, so it's important to prevent dives from enemy light vehicles. Now we're going to get Bolster. This will enhance our infantry sections and our Royal Engineers. Okay, so we can see the enemies repairing over here, so if we can get shots off on them, you can see how quickly I'll drop models. Okay, don't know why they're advancing so much. That's very strange, but as you can see, they are dying super fast, faster than normal. And we wipe the squad like that. Going to retreat it. Okay, now we have the Wasp. Now the Wasp, we have to be careful of Grens, because Grens have extra range Fausts, So the Wasp doesn't usually thrive very well because they only have to walk a little bit forward to snare the Wasp. I'm gonna get a 6-pounder for in case they build any light vehicles.
A capture point is being overrun.
You're also gonna get 1 thing of medical supplies. That way our guys can heal. See, the Wasp is very effective. Also very good against MGs. So if they have a static emplacement, it's gonna work. It's also gonna work against enemy engineers. Again, the thing you have to watch out is for enemy AT guns, especially from OKW, because the Rakettenwerfer is very maneuverable, and snares. Luckily for us, they don't have any of those. Cast this heal. Our infantry sections heal. Rakettenwerfer, or sorry, 6-pounder. I'm gonna force that squad back. So we don't want to keep this on the front. We're gonna have to wait for these Royal Engineers to finish capping. We're gonna repair this, and then next up we're gonna get a mortar pit now that we've secured our side. We're gonna start building trenches in sandbags. Trenches are usually better than sandbags, but they have to be built in your territory, so you have to cap the area first, whereas in sandbags can be built while you're capping the territory. So really, it depends on the situation. Trench's main advantage is that, unlike cover, where if you get close or you get flanked, you still get your garrison bonus. Meaning the only thing you ever have to watch out for is flamethrowers and grenades. So we're going to start building trenches where we can. Build it down. Okay, we're going to start on the mortar pit. Put it... I want to put it... Not exactly the best spot, but I like it. Okay, again, we're being shot at, so we want to stop our building. We want to win this fight, and then we can go back to it. We use the UC to watch this flank. Okay, and then once we get enough manpower, we're going to upgrade this, and then we're going to start teching. Get a comm wall. Looks like the AI is struggling. Here's another good spot for the Wasp. Okay. Not doing anything. Upgrade that. Another thing we can do to make sure this stays safe is we can mine this off. We're going to put a mine there. Get you inside. I don't know why it's pushing forward. That's a dead squad. We're going to retreat that. It's 1 mine down. We'll just put down a second one, and then we'll look to take mid. Okay. Oh yeah, it looks like it's got it. Normally I'd leave the Wasp in reserve because it could help deal with flanks. We got our mortar firing. That should help us take mid. Our coverage. My game is having a stroke for some odd reason. Okay, we can tech for our finals here. Now that's something we gotta watch out for. I don't know why I pinged it. Okay, this squad needs healing, so we're gonna bring it over there. Okay, that was a retreat from our Royal Engineers. So what we could do is we could bring the AT gun over. Except we're shooting at what looks like Kubel and missing. One to attack around here. Yeah. What does good damage on light vehicles? I'm gonna bring the universal carrier over. This is teched. We should be able to get a Cromwell pretty soon. Luke's is a problem. This is where you would want your Royal Engineers there to help. Because they could snare it and you'd be able to easily finish this off and prevent the dive. This squad getting annihilated like this is really bad. But, yeah, it's bad. Oh my god. There's some bad RNG. Automatic, but the end of the world. Almost got our Cromwell. We're going to switch out these infantry sections. They're going to go there, and these ones will go there. You can get more medical supplies on your infantry sections if you're not having any trouble keeping them alive. Or you can get medics later on. Or build a forward assembly and get the medics that way. Any way of those is a good method for getting more manpower. Okay, these are done, so we can come up and prepare. Cromwell is manpower out. We're getting a Cromwell. Cromwell's not super good against infantry, but it's alright, and it's good at taking down enemy tanks. Light vehicles, I should say. Okay, are you still on attack ground? Hit S in case you're still on attack ground. Barrage here. Okay. We're gonna get it. Second thing, since we're not struggling. I would normally recommend getting medics. But again, it depends on how things are playing out. Like, another thing is you can skip the Cromwell for a Churchill, sorry, not the Churchill. A Firefly if you need tank destroyers and you have plenty of anti-infantry. But that will depend on your teammates. I don't know if it's still barraging something, so we're going to hit S on it. That's either this or the key S. We see an enemy tank. We're going to give the Cromwell tank commander, which increases its accuracy and vision, which is very useful for spotting enemy threats. Nice miss. Guy needs to leave. Okay, they're healing. They can heal from inside. That's a dead scout car. Bring in this infantry section. Another thing you can do with your Royal Engineers is while they're capping, you can move a vehicle onto whatever they're capping, and then they can repair while capping, which is very useful. Okay. Trouble. I don't know where the rest of this infantry section is. It's very strange. Oh my god, they're all the way back there. I'm gonna try to snare this Kubel. There's the Kubel. Okay, that's a Luke's. We don't want to be there. We're gonna bring the Cromwell in instead. Heal this squad.
Enemy threatening a capture point.
Okay, we're gonna bring in the Universal Carrier over here because it's just P-Grens. Put this on vehicle prio since of all the light vehicles. Okay. The snare for 222. So can't escape. Okay. I'm gonna get a second recovery engineer squad. The Royal Engineer squad, sorry. That was a lucky thing. Okay. Squad needs more healing. I'm gonna get some medics. Base. And then we're gonna start teching for the Comet. And anyways, that's pretty much the build order. You have two options for teching at the end. You have either the Comet or the Churchill infantry tank. It's going to cost you quite a bit of fuel, but it also gives you some special abilities depending on which one you pick. So for Hammer, you get Comet, Gammon Bonds, War Speed, which is really good, which you get by repairing, and then Tracked Vehicle, where when your vehicles fire, they will detect the enemy for a bit afterwards. So if they like try to get out of fog of war, it'll be very useful. Okay. I'm gonna bring these two squads over to mid. We can cap. You see, we're gonna back up a bit. Front. Need to activate these guys. These guys are gonna go repair this. Another thing we can do is we can get our weapons rack. And we're gonna go Comet.
Message received and understood. Enemy causing trouble, trying to take one of our points.
Okay, we want to dodge this. Okay, they canceled it. Never mind. Okay, we want to pick this up with our Royal Engineers since they're good at anti-tank, since they have the snares. It just makes sense for them to pick it up. Actually, we'll just have this one pick it up. Okay, we got that flamethrower half track, so we would like to take that out. That out with the Comet. Missed, because of course it did. Shoot that squad. Okay, we don't want to doing anything in the fire. Alright. So with this squad retreating though, they'll be able to pick up their Brens, which is helpful. So you want Brens on your infantry sections, and you're going to want Piats on your Royal Engineers. And then pretty much elite infantry, you're going to want Bren's if they don't have their own sort of weapon upgrade. Like, commandos are fine either way, either with Bren's or without. If you give them Bren's, they're much better at long range. Alright, well now that we've got that pretty much out of the way, we'll move on to all the units that I didn't cover with the build. So we have the Royal Engineers, good for repairing. They've got the snare. Infantry section's good in cover, good at long range. You have the Vickers machine gun, which, depending on the map, you're going to want to take over the UC. It's good for suppressing, and it's especially good in like trenches, and then its Vet 1 ability allows it to shoot for longer ranges.
Machine gun crew awaiting orders.
So there we go. As you can see, there's the Vet 1. This is very good. It also gives it a bit pen and a little bit of accuracy. We have the Sniper, which I don't recommend at this stage of the game. It's very good at taking out infantry, but it's very vulnerable to everything, basically. It's got 50 range, though, so you're able to outrange enemy infantry and MGs with careful positioning and vision. The air landing officer is very good at short range. He has a very good grenade that you don't have to tech for. He can be upgraded with the Vickers. He can call in artillery and smoke, and he can give a buff to an infantry squad, speed, giving them a light sprint, and some combat buffs. So he's very useful, especially with Vet 1. He can call in recon, which is very good. So sometimes late game he might be worth getting, especially if you need some CQC. And then on to tanks. We have the... Oh, I skipped the Bofors and the AEC. There's also the Bofors and AEC you can tech for. Bofors is really good at shooting down planes and holding like reserve points. So if you have a fuel that they like to try to go for, or if they're playing like doing an encirclement doctrine, it's good to build that. AEC is good against other light vehicles, and it does pretty meh against infantry. It's got a tread shot with Vet 1. Don't really recommend building it because it's just cheaper to end up getting the Cromwell, as we saw. You have the Centaur AA Mark II cruiser tank, which... that's the wrong tank. Has the strafing fire, which is pretty good. Again, war speed's very good with the Comet. And you have the Firefly, which is your tank destroyer. It fires very slowly, but it does a ton of damage. And then finally, you have the Comet and the Churchill. The Comet is a good overall tank. It's decent against infantry, decent against enemy tanks, decently fast, high armor, but decent health. It can be upgraded with the tank commander. It can throw grenades. It can fire a smoke shell. You have war speed if it gets damaged, then repaired by your engineers. And then with Vet 1, it gets a really nasty ability, which is a white phosphorus shell, which functions as smoke, but it also does damage to enemy infantry. So if they're blobbing, it is very good to use because you can combine that where you're slowing them, and then you could throw a grenade, which is very nice. Churchill, for some reason, has to get Vet 1 to throw the grenade. It's a lot slower, but it's a lot tankier. It doesn't bounce very often, but it has a huge hit point pool, and it'll allow you to build engineers with, or make them heavy engineers, which increases their durability against small arms fire slightly. Gives them a Vickers, which is pretty meh for Royal Engineer Squad, that is. And then it also allows them to repair a lot faster, making them one of the fastest repair squads in the game. And you, of course, you're going to need it on your Churchill. So if you're ever planning on going like a Crocodile or an AVRE, sometimes going heavy engineers is just the better play, and then just back it up with Fireflies because of their long range, but poor anti-infantry. And yeah, that's pretty much it for Brits. Oh, there's the 17-pounder emplacement, which is very trash compared to the pack. It does 320 damage, which is twice what like normal tanks do. It's got good range. But it's very vulnerable to fire, infantry, tanks. It's pretty much vulnerable to everything. Sometimes on certain maps, if you get like a narrow choke point, it can be useful. But overall, I don't recommend building it. And then you have the Fort Assembly, which you can use to make a forward reinforce point, which you can upgrade to have medics or make it a forward retreat point. And then you can also reinforce at it without any upgrades. So, not terrible. Anyways, that's it. Thank you for watching. Any comments, concerns, or, disagreements on the build order, please let me know in the comments. That goes for my previous videos as well. If you have any issues with it, if there's any misinformation, please let me know. I can always edit the videos to add in disclaimers and stuff or put it in the comments. Anyways, that's it.